Republicans on the top watchdog committee in the House say they're going to push for Ghislaine Maxwell to testify before Congress. But it garnered a deflection from inside the Oval Office.
I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold.
Will Jeffrey Epstein's convicted confidant testify before Congress? Plus, what was that guy right there, Jeff Bezos, doing at the White House? There was a new report tonight on a recent meeting as one of Elon Musk's companies now warns investors. Also tonight, sugar high. Coca-Cola announces a new drink that will surely satisfy some parts of the Maha movement. But did you hear what they said about higher prices? And it is known for the Kentucky Derby, of course, Louisville. Why that city tonight, though, is trying to race towards something else, ending its sanctuary city status. What is going on there? But first tonight here from the Hill, this picture right here says a lot more than 1,000 words. The Republican Congressman Tim Burchett, a Republican, posting this to social media saying it is about to get real. Even as the president would prefer to talk about his predecessor, Republicans on the House Oversight Committee pushing forward to try to get Ghislaine Maxwell to testify before Congress. Our Joe Khalil live tonight on how Republicans both are and, Joe, I guess you can also say, are not handling this issue.
Yeah, let's start at the top. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has made the call. He's going to send everybody home for recess a day early rather than bring up any legislation that deals with releasing the Epstein files. The Speaker said today he's for transparency. He thinks the White House is for transparency, but he says the White House has to take the lead on it. It's not for Congress. And that opinion angered a lot of his own members. A lot of Republicans, particularly those on the Rules Committee, said we're tired of taking amendments from Democrats about releasing the Epstein files and being asked to vote no. So they basically shut down the Rules Committee, and now you can't pass anything substantial. So Johnson says, let's go home. Not every Republican is listening to their leadership, though. As you mentioned, Tim Burchett today introducing that measure, essentially demanding a subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell, to bring her in, have her answer questions under oath before Congress. And we talked to Tim about it. I asked whether he actually brought this up to leadership. He said no, he consulted his own conscience. Here's what he said.
Something like this just going to give people hope, and it tells the dirtbags that we're not standing with you. And so ultimately, I'm going to answer my creator, and that has nothing to do with up here.
Blake, remember that discharge petition, Congressman Thomas Massey and Democrat Ro Khanna, they are not giving up on that either when they come back from recess in September.
Our Joe Khalil live tonight up on Capitol Hill. Joe, thank you. All right, so here's what we're going to do now. Lawmakers both sides of the aisle, as this is one of several big stories, really, here in this town tonight and how it all interweaves. Virginia's Democratic Congressman Suhas Subramaniam joins us in a moment. But first with me now, the Wisconsin Senator, Republican from the great state of Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, back with us. Senator, thanks for being with us tonight. Always nice to talk to you. You said in one of the main outlets there, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel the other day, you said, I'm always for transparency, so something that doesn't smell right here. Do you think Maxwell should testify up on Capitol Hill, and do you think Mike Johnson was right to punt this to September?
Listen, I'm as curious as anybody about the whole Epstein affair, but I'm also as in the dark as everybody as well. So yeah, I'd like these questions being answered. I mean, just from the onset of the first trial and the incredibly light sentence. But I also completely agree with President Trump. The major story should be what Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released in terms of just further documentation, further evidence that just confirms all the things we've known and suspected about President Obama,
that's what,
John Brennan, James Comey. I mean, that is by far the biggest scandal by far.
Okay, so here was President
Trump. Doesn't even come close.
I'm jumping in here, Senator, because here was President Trump in the Oval Office today, and the setup here is when he was asked about Epstein and all of that, he pivoted to this, and I want to get your reaction. I heard some of it, but other side.
It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined.
The administration is trying to make the case that former President Obama and parts of his team essentially tried to change the narrative after Trump won the election in 2016 on Russia. Here was former President Obama's statement, Senator Johnson. He said, quote, "Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, led by then Chairman Marco Rubio." Do you want to see Barack Obama charged for treason? You don't believe that, do you?
Well, first of all, that's a nice dodge on the part of the former president. But the extent that he and top members of his administration interfered in the 2016 election, then later on in the 2020 election, do I need to remind you about the 50 intelligence officials that were pretty well ginned up by members of of our former Secretary of State to provide that letter, said that the Hunter laptop had all the earmarks of a Russian information campaign when the FBI had possession of it and knew it was genuine. Again,
do you want to see him charged? Do you believe that he was involved
scale.
in treason, though?
I want the press to be honest. I want Pulitzer Prizes to be returned. They were either duped or complicit in pushing that false narrative that put America in political turmoil for years. It's continuing to go on, all based on a Hillary Clinton dirty trick, the Steele dossier, that those guys knew was a dirty trick, and yet they used that to gin up the Mueller investigation, impeachments, everything else. Listen, this is, again, election interference, orders of magnitude worse than anything Russia or China ever could hope to achieve. And that was orchestrated by President Obama, President Biden, John Brennan, and that whole cast of characters. And again, I've known this. The American people should have known it, but it was never really covered by the legacy media.
Senator Rubio, then at the time, obviously, of course, now the Secretary of State at the time, said no evidence of collusion with Russia on behalf of the president at the time, but there was irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. Just putting that out there as well. I want to move on to another former president, Joe Biden, because you're the chairman of the Senate subcommittee on investigations. And Hunter Biden yesterday said this.
I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times. Yeah. He's 81 years old. He's tired as You give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage, and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights.
Do you plan to investigate that? What do you make of those statements from Hunter Biden, and do you believe them?
Hunter Biden ought to just slink away. But I'm taking a somewhat different tack. I know James Comer and potentially Justice Department are looking at the possible activity or illegal opportunity or activity as relates to the auto pen. What I'm trying to do is create a historical record. So we have asked the cabinet officials, the constitutional officers, come in for a transcribed interview just to create the historical record. I think future cabinet members, future vice presidents, they take an oath to the Constitution to uphold and defend it. Part of that is the 25th Amendment. If they see a president that is incapable of fulfilling the onerous duties of the president, they need to do something. They need to act. And they can't be afraid to act as well. So I think it's just incredibly important to build that historical record. Hopefully people will appear voluntarily. Hopefully we'll get the full story to provide the American public and for history.
Senator Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin, answering the questions tonight as he always does. Appreciate it, sir. Thanks for being with us.
Have a good evening.
You too. All right, other side of the aisle now. He's a Democrat from Virginia, just down the road, Congressman Suhas Subramaniam. He is a member of the Oversight and Ethics Committee. Sir, thanks for being with us. You just heard some there from the other side of the aisle in the other chamber. Let me start there with what we just left on. Hunter Biden, do you want him talking? Do you believe what he said last night about or yesterday about his father should be investigated?
No, I think the American people have moved on from that. I think what's more important is that this administration is really hurting the American people, whether it's taking away their health care access or food assistance, or in this case, hiding the Epstein files or refusing to release them or lying about them. Whatever the case is, I think the president, what he's trying to do is distract from the fact that he's under a lot of fire right now from his own party even.
Why all of a sudden, Congressman, the Epstein files were there for years. Merrick Garland had them. The Biden administration had them. And now all of a sudden you're bringing it up. Is it just purely because this is a bad moment for the president? Like, why should the public believe that Democrats are being genuine and sincere now?
Well, I wasn't here in Congress last year. As a private citizen, I was very curious about what was in the Epstein files. But I'll say now that I'm in Congress, I do have questions. And in fact, I actually
Chuck Schumer
sent a
or
letter
Jeffries?
on my capacity from the oversight. I can't speak for them. I will say this, though. This president campaigned, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries didn't campaign on this conspiracy about Jeffrey Epstein. This president did. And in fact, he hired people around him that campaigned on that conspiracy. And what's happened now is now that he's campaigned on the conspiracy and he's here in power, he's either hiding something or he's lying about it. And the fact is, now the Wall Street Journal has released love letters that he sent to Jeffrey Epstein. So he might be implicated in the files, which may be why he doesn't want to release them. But in the other case, either he should tell people that he lied or he should release the files that he supposedly had on the AG's desk. Either way, he's either lying or covering something up.
Do you think Merrick Garland was covering anything up on the other side of the aisle for Democrats? If Democrats now believe that Trump is covering something up, what about the other side?
I don't really think so. I think the reality is Trump had a very close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I think he was probably on track to give a pardon to Ghislaine Maxwell. They were probably very good friends for a long time. It seems like from the love letter I read that they're very, very close. And so he wants this to go away, right? He wants his association with Jeffrey Epstein and this whole image of him being an elitist that he is to go away because that's inconvenient for him politically. And so he's bringing up things about Barack Obama that aren't true and calling him treasonous when it's clearly not true, making up a lot of lies and distractions to distract from the fact that, he's in trouble right now politically.
I will note the president denies that letter. Let me leave you with this, Congressman. Ghislaine Maxwell, do you think that you're on the committee, you're in the Oversight Committee in which this could potentially happen? Do you believe that there will be a moment to come soon, maybe in the upcoming weeks or months, in which she gives a deposition, and would the American people see that?
I'm not optimistic. This administration and this Congress has actually covered up a lot for this president, this administration. And so I doubt that this Congress and the House Republicans would do anything but support the president every step of the way. So until I see different, I'm not convinced that they'll do anything to investigate this administration.
All right, we'll leave it there. Congressman Subramaniam from just down the road from us here in Virginia. Thanks for being with us tonight. You heard the congressman on the Democratic side of the aisle, the Republican, Ron Johnson, on the other side of the aisle. Some of what we do here on the Hill. Still to come tonight here on the Hill. The Price is Right, or is it? Nearly 4 months after Liberation Day, who's charging more and who's not? A couple major headlines today involving two companies you very well know, plus this.
Sanctuary cities are now our priority. We're going to flood the zone.
The Trump White House saying no amnesty for illegal immigrants. But why are some Republicans saying, I'm not sure that I agree with that? And is Elon Musk really done with politics? What Jeff Bezos is also doing as well here in this town. I thank you for being with us tonight. I'm Blake Burman. Other side of the break, 4 minutes away. All right, they are two iconic American companies, and tonight Coca-Cola and General Motors are telling two different stories about how they are responding to President Trump's tariffs. I'm going to walk you through here why this could matter for your next purchase, whatever really it may be, doesn't have to be Coke or a car. GM says tariffs impacted its business the last quarter by $1.1 billion. That was the headline today, but it also said it is not raising prices.
We expect as this was going to probably be the peak of the tariff impact for us, while we experienced a little bit of timing pushback from some of the indirect tariffs that we will see. We don't expect any specific price increases related to tariffs.
All right, as for Coca-Cola, these were the headlines that were splashed everywhere today. You see the general theme here, right? New drink without high fructose corn syrup replaced by natural sugar. Big win for the president's MAHA movement. But beneath the headlines there, Coca-Cola said it raised prices by 6% due to inflationary pressures. It's not the only dichotomy on prices that we have seen this week. Remember when the president had a phone call with Jeff Bezos in late April and he told him not to raise prices for Amazon?
Jeff Bezos was very nice. He was terrific. He solved the problem very quickly, and he did the right thing, and he's a good guy.
Here's why I bring it up. Story in the Wall Street Journal this week involving some of the other massive companies that you know and use: Amazon, Walmart, and Target. Now, here's the thing. Prices of less expensive items, they looked at 1,200 household goods. You see there for Amazon and Target, prices went up. Not so much for Walmart, but the other two, prices up. But when it came to the more expensive household items, a different story. Flip it if we can, because the cost of those goods went in the other direction. Prices going down. Is this what we could be seeing here in the future, potentially? Mick Mulvaney, NewsNation contributor, former Trump White House chief of staff, to talk about all of this. Hello, sir.
Hello, Burman.
I thought there was two different stories from GM and from Coke today on the big product. Big price, right? 50,000, 60,000, 40,000, whatever cars. We're not raising prices. But on the $1.50 Coke or whatever it is when you go to the vending machine, prices going up.
Yeah, that's some of it. Economists will tell you that it's really called the elasticity of demand. There are certain things that you just have to have,
right,
and you have to eat. I don't consider Coca-Cola food, but some people do. I think it's candy, but you got to eat every single day. So if they raise prices a little bit on food, you sort of got to take it, right? You don't have to buy a car every single day. You're a little bit more discretionary in that spending. So maybe, you know, we're not gonna raise prices on that. I think that probably explains it as much as the high end versus the low end of the price of the goods itself.
So on General Motors, it was interesting because the CFO said today that they're spending $4 billion on plants, right? And the White House will tell you money's coming in for manufacturing. $4 billion, Michigan, Tennessee, Kansas. But he also said it will have an effect as we get 18 to 24 months down the road. If that's the case, Mick, is it Speaker Hakeem Jeffries? Right? If that's how long these manufacturing investments take.
You know, see, he also said that he didn't expect to raise prices. I've seen a lot of politicians who don't expect to run for higher office, and they always do.
Okay.
So let's wait and see what happens with GM. But certainly it does take a long time to change the manufacturing process. If you're a manufacturer, you got to think to yourself, do I change now and count on these tariffs being here for a long time, or do I sort of sit back and wait and count on the next administration doing different policy? It's really hard to do this kind of stuff quickly. When you hear CEOs complain about uncertainty, that's really what they're talking about.
Trump said this today, the president said this today about China as well, which of course is the big backdrop for all of the trade and tariff discussions. Roll it.
President Xi has invited me to China, and we'll probably be doing that in the not too distant future, a little bit out, but not too distant. We're getting along with China very well. We have a very good relationship.
Decode that for me.
You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. I mean, that's always, I mean, I don't know why folks haven't seen through this now after 8 years of seeing Donald Trump work, but he's not going to say bad things about President Xi. He's just not. It doesn't advance his agenda in any way, shape, or form. The proof will be in the pudding. What will the trade deal, if any, look like with China?
And if they get face-to-face here in the upcoming months, that's significant. Why?
Trump likes to deal face-to-face. It's one of the challenges of dealing with the Chinese, that the Chinese culture is that the two principals don't talk until the very, very end. Donald Trump's culture is that he wants those two principals to talk at the very, very beginning.
Negotiate all the way through, huh?
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see how it shakes out.
Leave it there. Catch you later in the show. Mick
I'll be here.
Thank you, sir. Still to come. Here on the Hill, should there be amnesty? How about this for a question for Republicans? Should there be amnesty for some illegal immigrants?
We are putting our priorities in place where he promised the American people when he ran for office that he would make America safer.
But is that what some Republicans in this town are promising to do. Amnesty, immigration reform, and have you seen what's going on in one major American city and out with Musk, in with Bezos? A report tonight about one of those two. You can guess who. Sitting down with the president when we return.
It's 9 today.
We're getting them out. Many were murderers, as I said. They killed people. Many killed more than one person. Stone cold murderers. I don't understand why they would have allowed that. I think they hate our country. I actually do.
President Trump, his message today to the leaders of sanctuary cities in response to a question about the border agent who was shot in New York City, 2 illegal immigrants taken into custody. It comes amid a growing rift in Republican ranks, certainly questions and debates over how the administration is handling immigration enforcement. For example, a group of bipartisan lawmakers introducing what they call the Dignity Act, which would allow illegal immigrants who arrived before 2021 to apply for up to 7 years of legal status with work authorization. Now, it's received pushback from some on the right and has been labeled, as you might imagine, as amnesty. This after a group of 6 Republican lawmakers sent a letter to the acting ICE director, Todd Lyons, saying in part, quote, "There are levels of priority that must be considered when it comes to immigration enforcement. Every minute that we spend pursuing an individual with a clean record is a minute less that we dedicate to apprehending terrorists or cartel operatives." The Republican from the state of Colorado, Gabe Evans, is a co-sponsor of the Dignity Act. Democrats, Republicans have signed on to it. The congressman joins me live. Thanks for being with us, Congressman, once again. Look, there's not a lot that's bipartisan in this town, and you have as many Democrats signed on to this as Republicans. But on the one hand, it seems like you're pushing for a form of comprehensive immigration reform, somewhat. But those on the right might describe this as amnesty. What say you?
Well, first and foremost, it's absolutely not amnesty, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I think it's really important to level set in this conversation because this bill has been around long before I got to Congress. It's been around for 5 years, been introduced 3 times. And so if somebody just goes online and Googles Dignity Act, you're going to get out-of-date information because previous versions of this bill were squishy, again, before I got to Congress. We ripped all of that stuff out of the bill. So what does the bill actually do now and not do? Well, there's no pathway to citizenship in this bill. The end, period. The end. This bill actually enshrines in federal law the complete end of catch and release. Not allowed, that's in federal law, not executive order underneath this bill. It actually enshrines the self-deportation mandate in federal law for anyone who doesn't have legal status. Again, this is going into federal law, not executive order.
I hear you going through it and looking and ticking off at some of the list there. But the reality is, Congressman, the White House was asked about this just the other day. I want to play what they said and get your response.
I'm curious what the White House's position is on the legislation and if the president would veto this bill if it made it to its desk.
From my understanding, the White House nor the president has actually read through this legislation. The president has made it very clear he will not support amnesty for illegal aliens in any way.
They basically said, Congressman, we haven't given this time yet, so what gives you any sort of hope that this actually gets the attention?
Yeah, here's the problem that we got to solve. I spent 12 years in the Army, 10 years in law enforcement, and in both of those industries, we had a saying, you got to play the hand you're dealt. Not the hand you wish you had, you got to play the hand that you're dealt. And the hand that we've been dealt is we have 4 decades of broken immigration system in the United States that's led to statistics like 42%, and this is a real statistic, you can go look it up on the USDA website, 42% of the agricultural labor force in the United States is illegal immigrants. And so, you know, the previous segment that you had, you were talking about, food. And so somebody made the comment, you got to eat every day. We know that in the United States, food security is national security. I wish that this wasn't the case, that 42% of the workforce that builds our food, that makes and grows and processes our food is illegal immigrants, but that's the fact of the matter. So we have to engage in this conversation because if we don't talk about it now with a secure border, with an America First administration in power, eventually the Dems are going to get their hands on this and they're going to make a complete and total disaster about this.
We'll leave it there. Gabe Evans, Congressman, Republican from the state of Colorado, with us tonight here on the Hill. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. So Democrats, by the way, many of them, that's sort of what Republicans are dealing with. Democrats continue in a lot of cases to dig their heels in on sanctuary cities all over the country. At least one city is reversing course, though. Louisville's mayor making this announcement today after the Department of Justice threatened legal action.
Louisville will no longer be considered a sanctuary city by the federal government. This change in designation is critical. Cities on the sanctuary cities list right now are experiencing a terrifying increase in raids by ICE.
Attorney General Pam Bondi had this to say, quote, a major victory for the Department of Justice. The city of Louisville is dropping its sanctuary city policies as a result of a strong written warning from my office. This should set an example to other cities. With me now, News Nation contributors Lindsey Granger and Kurt Bardella. Hello to you both.
Hey.
Thanks for being here. Good on Louisville. You're going to say good on them for dropping this sanctuary city status?
Well, I think that when we watched Craig Greenberg, it screamed a little bit of fear to me. I think he saw what happened in Los Angeles and was like, not in my city, and he knows what the next steps will be. The wild card is the DOJ. The wild card is President Trump, and he knows basically if you don't bend the knee, that you can end up like any city that they will be attacking, which would be NYC next.
Is it bending the knee, though, or is it getting in line with the policies that should be there, aligning local cities with the federal government?
Well, federal data tells us that only two-thirds of the people in immigration centers are there because they violated the law by coming across the border, not because they're in criminal activity of any sort. So placing ICE agents there is not really going to do anything besides provide another fear tactic. And like we just heard the congressman say, there are migrants across industries that are benefiting people across both parties. And so when you try to put these tactics in place, it not only benefits people that voted for you, but also doesn't create any way out of the situation.
I went ladies first. I think you're going to take the other side of this. You believe that this is not a hill that Democrats should die on?
No, because I think that, as we saw in the 2024 election, Democrats were upside down with the American people on the issue of immigration, particularly the issue of immigration enforcement. If you are going to die on the hill of providing sanctuary to those who have broken the law, that just average talking point conversation is so much more difficult to defend in the court of public opinion, where we have been losing over and over and over again. So let's just take that off the table. Sometimes the best tactic, give the people in power exactly what they want.
No, targeting dangerous criminals is something that most of America agrees upon, both sides. I mean, I live in Colorado, so I understand, in Denver specifically. So, I've talked to the mayor who specifically welcomes the idea of being a sanctuary city. I understand there are migrants that want to pay taxes. They want to work. They're fleeing dire circumstances. So they're trying to accomplish something on purpose. It's not to just steal all the money here.
But I guess to your point, like you just mentioned, sanctuary city, sanctuary city, sanctuary city. And I guess what Kurt's saying is, that's
take it off the table. Like that's the thing.
Just take the wording off the table.
Is it the wording or the policies?
It's both. If we took that issue off the table, if we just got rid of all sanctuary cities, every Democrat in power said, you know what, we're dropping this completely, what it would end up doing is putting the spotlight on the despicable, disgusting, downright, sometimes unconstitutional tactics the Trump administration is using to enforce the law, as they would say. That's where the spotlight would be. But we give them the out of sanctuary cities every time, where they get to say, we're just trying to enforce the law.
You view it as dangerous, despicable, all the adjectives that you just dropped. I think there's a sizable portion of this country who would say, wait a minute, you could equally apply that to the idea of local law enforcement saying, I'm not going to help you on any of this stuff inside your major cities.
Yeah, sure. But again, the way that the administration has gone about doing this, the majority of American people, they think it's too far. They think it's too harsh. That part of it isn't polling well. But if you give them the out of saying, we're just trying to enforce the law and your local reps are standing in the way of that, it takes the spotlight off of Trump and puts it back on.
The problem is when one incident happens, like we saw what happened in New York, then it creates this chaos that we have no law and order happening in this country.
Louisville's a pretty big city. Give me a number before I run a break. How many more Craig Greenbergs make statements like that by the end of the year?
Oh, I think everyone's going to bend the knee, except for Denver, except for NYC.
I think not as many as they should.
Okay. No numbers there, but I hear your points. Lindsey,
7.
Lindsey, Kirk, see you on the other side of the break. Thank you. Other side of the break. Another space spectacle in the sky today, courtesy of SpaceX.
3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
I can watch these over and over and over again. How cool is that, right? But here on planet Earth, is Elon Musk getting sidelined from a major project? And guess who made his way to the Oval Office? It wasn't Musk. Full panel, other side.
to Big Nights at Cuomo. Tonight, Stephen A. Smith joins Chris live. Then tomorrow, don't miss the one and only Bill O'Reilly for TV's liveliest and most honest debate.
I have to tell the truth.
Cuomo starting at 8, 7 Central on News Nation.
In wealth management.
How about this scene in Cape Canaveral, Florida, earlier today? SpaceX successfully launching a satellite into medium Earth orbit. There she goes. But now I want you to take a look at this headline. Caught my attention today. CNBC reporting that the Amazon founder, Jeff Bezos, was at the White House last week for more than an hour. Specifics of the meeting not divulged. But consider this. SpaceX just warned its investors that its CEO, Elon Musk, could be returning to politics. Much like we saw the richest man in the world play a vital role in the 2024 Trump campaign and subsequent administration before a much publicized divorce. So what do these stories have in common? Well, don't forget that Bezos is also the founder, sole shareholder of the company Blue Origin. Is Bezos making his move to fill a void left by Musk and SpaceX potentially? Because don't forget, there is the massive Golden Dome project.
I announced that we are officially building all in America, made in America, designed in America. We're the only ones that could do it because we're the only ones with the great technology. We're building the Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland.
Now there's a question of if SpaceX and Musk might be out of the running. As the White House, according to Reuters, you see the exclusive there. Trump's Golden Dome looks for alternatives to Musk's SpaceX. Seems like a long ways away or short time away from these images when Trump attended a SpaceX launch in Brownsville, Texas, just months ago with Musk right by his side. Full panel here with me now. Former Chief of Staff, First Trump Administration, News Nation contributor Mick Mulvaney. Lindsey Granger, News Nation contributor as well. Annalise Keller is a Republican strategist. And Kurt Bardella, News Nation contributor, Democratic strategist. Hello to you all. I'm more interested, or most interested, I guess I should say, Mick, in Bezos going to the White House last week, CNBC reporting in a meeting there for an hour. You would expect something like this. What do you think they're talking about?
You ask me a lot of hard questions on this show.
Yep.
That's not one of them.
Okay, why?
Money. That's easy. Okay, that's what this is all about. Look, here's what nobody understands, because, again, Elon doesn't understand how Washington works. Bezos doesn't understand how Washington works. A lot of folks don't understand how Washington works. The president doesn't get to pick who works on a project. That's not how it works. There's going to be competitive bidding. There's going to be a process for 10 years. There's going to be lawsuits. Actually, Amazon should know this because they've been involved in a lawsuit now for years over who's going to provide cloud services to the United States government. So, look, Trump doesn't get to go back and say, I like you, you get to do the Golden Dome thing. That's not how it works. And if these guys are paying any attention, they should know that.
So you don't believe that Trump will try to hold it against Musk and SpaceX?
Oh, sure. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that Bezos gets the gig. It has to be competitively bid.
Okay.
You're going to go through a process. And if Amazon doesn't get it, or not, Blue Origin doesn't get it, they're going to sue, and they'll go on for years. And it's one of the difficulties we have with government contracting. It's really hard, really slow, and really expensive. Sorry, that's my OMB hat. Every now and then I relapse.
What a nerd.
I think Donald Trump is going to try to do a little bit of getting even with Elon Musk here. Yep. And if this is a way to do it, I think he's gonna go for that. But I think you're right. Look, it's going to be an all hands on deck. You've seen tons of defense contracting companies jump at the opportunity to get involved in this extremely expensive effort that, Donald Trump has said he wants this in 3 years. So this is going to be a race to get done.
So
I don't think any of it's funded yet. If it is, it was just nickels and dimes as part
so
of
$25 billion in the One Big Beautiful Bill.
$25 billion out of what, a couple trillion?
You think this is worth? You think this is going to escalate to like half a trillion? Right?
Oh, it's going to be at least that much, and it's going to be 30 years. It's not going to be 3. I know how. The boss wants it to be. Trump wants it to be 3 years. That's not how these things work.
Bezos kind of said the quiet part out loud. There was a fascinating interview with Andrew Ross Sorkin at a Deal Book Summit, I believe at the end of last year. Roll it.
There is, probably not a single day goes by where some Amazon executive or some Blue Origin executive or some Bezos Earth Fund leader isn't meeting with a government official somewhere.
And that's the reality, Kurt. What do you think he wants when he walks into the White House?
That's true, but when it's the man himself, Jeff Bezos, I mean, I think it's clear that there is a game being played here, and Trump is no fool when it comes to this of, hey, this is my new billionaire bestie right here, Jeff Bezos, and I'm flaunting him in your face, Elon Musk, which is why all of a sudden there's this warning to his shareholders he might get back in politics.
Is he flaunting him? Because if you take the report at face value, and I do, we didn't find out about it until a week later. It was not on camera. He easily could have said, hey, Poole, come on in here. And then all of a sudden you get the two of them.
I think he's setting just the subtle it got out. We're talking about it a week later. So
I think he wanted the big news to hit when it was like finalized or there was more serious conversation. Like you said, we're really early on. But what I know is that from what I gather, my perspective is you have two men that are very ego-driven with Elon Musk and President Trump. And so they're not going to stop.
And Bezos, put him on the list.
And Bezos can be on the list. But Elon Musk is going to go a step further. So, you know, like, we've seen a tech billionaire do the same pattern that it looks like Elon Musk is following, Ross Perot, in 1992. And so if he goes that route and follows it all the way through, not only is he going to continue forward and still lose the election in 2020, but he's going to ruin it for all Republicans, which you see the strategy. So Trump gets the lowest denominator out of all of
I think Musk is about to pull a Steve Bannon, which is, I got out of the good graces for a minute, like was getting trashed by the president. I'm going to start sucking up again and get right back in.
By the way, when you talk about SpaceX, you obviously see the rockets, and it's wild and amazing and all of those things. It's valued at little north, or give or take, somewhere around $350 billion in the private markets right now. It's a private company. That's basically the valuation of Bank of America or Home Depot. Institutions that have been around for decades. Moment up on Capitol Hill, different topic just a little while ago. The story that seemingly isn't going anywhere.
Speaker Johnson shouldn't be skedaddling out of town. He should be sitting here and negotiating with us. And instead, because he's so afraid of what people might say about Jeffries, sorry.
Jeffries as well.
Yes, he might say about Jeffries, but what he might say about Jeffrey Epstein.
Someone once might have said, whoops, around the table. What do you make of where we are with that story real quick?
It says a lot that the House can't stay in session right now. They have to skedaddle out of town for a month because they don't want to take a vote on releasing Epstein files.
Yeah, I think Johnson knows that it's going to divide his conference and that it's not something that he is willing to put on the floor.
Democrats do not care about this, but this is hilarious to continuously bring up every single day because I know they don't care.
All of a sudden, your party cares about this. I mean, it's what you said.
They don't care. This is ridiculous, but it's hilarious to watch.
I'll give you a little bit different take. Okay. That is the reason that Chuck Schumer's career is over. It just is. Should be a place he's making tremendous headway in it, and he's not. He can't even deliver a line without insulting his own.
Harsh words from the birthday guy.
and that's where we leave it. Happy belated to Mr.
Birthday. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Still to come tonight here on the Hill. We talked about this a month ago. I posed the question, who do you think the most powerful person in Washington is? It's obvious it's Trump, right? But what about after Trump? And I'll tell you why I bring that up on the other side of the break. Something the president said today, by the way. Coming up on Elizabeth Vargas Reports, Brian Entin joins Elizabeth live from Idaho toward the prison where Brian Kohberger will spend his life. That's 8 minutes away. 7 o'clock Eastern right here on News Nation. My take and what is trending on the other side.
Call now.
All right, if you're just getting home, trying to catch up on your day, here's what's trending right now. Top stories on thehill.com. Story that won't go away. House panel moves to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell. It's not going to happen this month or next month. Mike Johnson sent the House home, but we'll see if she ends up testifying before the House Oversight Committee. Sad news in the world of music. Ozzy Osbourne dies after farewell show. Legend, as you know, in the music industry, Ozzy Osbourne, 76 years old. And then how about this one trending on the Hill? House GOP moves to rename Kennedy Center Opera House after Melania Trump, the First Lady. The president continuing to try to put his imprint all over this country in many different places. To check out these stories and more, all you have to do, scan the QR code on your screen or visit thehill.com. All right, time for my take now. You remember the confirmation process for cabinet members? Pete Hegseth, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. Sound bites of tenacious back and forth before the committees. Will they get in? Who's going to support them? Who won't? All the questions. Now, someone you never saw that with was Jay Powell. That's because he was appointed by President Trump to chair the Federal Reserve back in 2018. And while the aforementioned cabinet positions are extremely important, no doubt, you might remember that I asked this question before our panel back in May. Whoever the Fed chair is, they're unelected, they can't be fired, and they control the money supply.
Right.
That's pretty powerful stuff, is it not? All right, so here's why I bring it up, because just today, President Trump and the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent seemed resigned to the idea that no matter how bad of a job they believe Powell is doing, they probably can't do anything about it.
I think he's done a bad job, but he's going to be out pretty soon anyway. In eight months, he'll be out.
His term ends in May. If he wants to see that through, I think he should. If he wants to leave early, I think he should.
Probably something that many conservatives don't want to hear at this point in time. But as you heard there from the president and the Treasury Secretary, he just might have his 8 months left. So here's what I think you should keep in mind. Take the players, take the people out of this for a moment. What we have learned over the last 6 months, which could apply for the next 6 decades, well beyond that, is just how powerful the role of Fed chair remains, whether it's Powell or whoever comes next. I thank you so much for watching us tonight here on The Hill. We'll be back here tomorrow. We'll do it all again, 6 o'clock Eastern. I'm Blake Burman. Hope you have a great night. Elizabeth starts right now.
Right now, President